Hi, and welcome to this video on dealing with challenging students. Hopefully this will give you some insights in how to handle students that are posing challenges. One of the most common concerns that happens on fieldwork with students, and one of the most common reasons that students fail if they're going to fail, is lack of professionalism. As a fieldwork educator, you can teach them clinical skills. There's a lot of things you can teach a student and help them progress. But one of the things that's hard to teach students is how to be professional and how to interact with coworkers and how to interact with clients and consumers. So we're going to talk about that a little bit in this video. One of the first things you're going to want to do is separate yourself and your students' issues. So sit and reflect for a little bit about, why is this bothering you? Is the student actually have poor professional skills, or does the student have such a different personality from yours that it's grating and causing problems? It's important to understand what are your issues and what are the student issues, and make sure that you're focusing on the student issues that truly are getting in the way of them succeeding. You may not like the student, and that's fine. We don't have to like every student that crosses our path. But if the student is meeting the expectations and is performing in a way that is appropriate, then we have to take our own issues out of it, which can be difficult if our personality and the student's personality great. So take a look at your issues and take a look at what's going on with this student, and be sure that what you're looking at really are difficulties with the student's behavior and not about your differences in personality. Once you've established that there really are issues with the student's behavior and performance on fieldwork, you want to find out if that's happening, if other people are affected by that, what's going on. You want to consult with people in the department and in the facility, and you want to say, so how's the student? How were they when they observed you with your client? Or, hey, I've got this new student. What do you think? Keeping it light and open. One of the things we want to be sure to avoid is interfering with FERPA. Now, FERPA is the educational, it's like HIPAA, but for education. Students that are on fieldwork are covered by FERPA. In other words, we can't really discuss their educational status or progress or grades or failing or not failing or passing with other people. So you can talk about their educational progress on fieldwork with the academic fieldwork coordinator. That's their job. So you both are covered. The fieldwork educator and the academic fieldwork coordinator are both under the auspices of FERPA and both required to keep privacy. So the fieldwork coordinator is not going to be able to tell you about the grades the student achieved in school or any issues they might have had in school, because they need to keep that separate. But they can discuss with you educational issues on fieldwork that are happening in the moment. But you have to be careful when you are talking with people outside of that educational context between you and the fieldwork coordinator. You have to be careful when talking to other people in your facility not to breach that confidentiality of the student's educational attainment. So one of the things you want to look at are the behaviors that you are observing crossing ethical boundaries. Students are required, and it's on the fieldwork performance evaluation, to function within the ethical boundaries of our profession. So you want to mark down, you want to look at those ethics, and AOTA has done a redo of the ethics of our profession. It's essentially the same information, but they expanded the document to be more in depth. So you might want to look at that on the AOTA website. But take a look at those ethical issues, and you can look at your facility's ethical issues and ethical standards and see if the student is breaching those. That is important for you to note. So in conversations with the student, you can be very clear about ethical things they've done that are unethical or questionably ethical. You also want to take a look at safety. Safety is one of the reasons a student can fail their fieldwork right off the bat. So any twos in safety will have a student fail automatically, whether or not the rest of their skills are up to par. So you really want to take a look at safety, look at the fieldwork performance evaluation items on safety, and look at your department and facility expectations about safety. making sure that you have conveyed those and communicated those to the student. So if a student is breaching either ethical or safety issues, show them what the expectations are in writing so that they can see what they're supposed to do. You can't really call somebody on something that you haven't told them that they're expected to do. So make sure you show it to them. And if the behavior changes, you're all set. If the behavior doesn't change, then you need to move forward with more steps. So one of the first things that you want to do is share that information with the student and say, I've seen some things that are not within these ethical and safety standards, and I need you to read these and understand them. You can even have them sign a document saying they read them and understand them. That's perfectly reasonable. So again, what are the facility expectations? What does your department and your facility expect out of professional behaviors of everybody in the facility? And again, you want to make sure that you communicate that to the student. So you also have to think about what can you teach them about being a professional. They are there to learn, and sometimes being a professional is ambiguous. It's not, you can't point to it. But when you really step back and look at what is being a professional, there are individual specific skills and traits that you're looking for. For example, you're looking for someone to be on time. That's professional. You're looking for them to hand in things on time that you ask them for. You're looking for them to look people in the eye and greet them appropriately. That's professional. You're looking for their dress to be professional. So all those things you want to take a look at. What does it mean to be professional in your facility? And of those things, what can you not only model for the student, but teach the student? How can you let them know these are things that are expected? Now, the other thing you want to take a look at is there's something else going on with the student. I had a student some time ago who the fieldwork educator, when I called for my 2-week check-in, said something's wrong. She's not talking to people. She's not making eye contact. We go to meetings. She's silent. She doesn't really interact with the clients very well. She kind of stands in the background. And so we had to have a conversation, and it turned out that she was very shy and unsure of herself. So that actually is an easier thing to fix. So we could address her shyness and her unsureness by giving her very clear, specific things to do and steps to take. And she ended up doing fine. So sometimes it's something like that. Sometimes it's a miscommunication between the fieldwork educator and the student, and their expectations are different. So the student might expect daily check-ins and daily information on how they're doing, and the fieldwork educator might think, once a week is good, right? And so these aren't matching. So the student is waiting for information, and the fieldwork educator is saying, why aren't they going? Why aren't they getting moving? When that hasn't actually been communicated to the student specifically. So sometimes it's just a matter of communication that just isn't working. And you can ask your academic fieldwork coordinator to help you sort through that, or you can sort through that with the student yourself. We all, as occupational therapy practitioners, have training in interview skills and in communication skills. So use those as that you have been trained to do, and talk to the student and see if you can figure out what's going on underneath, what might be causing these problems. Now, it might be nothing. It might be that this student just has lousy professional skills, and that might be it. But there may be something else going on. So be clear and unambiguous with what you expect. One of the biggest issues we have with professional skills is we don't name them. We don't say, this is a professional skill expectation, and I see that you're not doing it. So we need to be super, super clear with our students. So telling your student, being on time actually means being early. And as a fieldwork student, I expect you to be here 10 to 15 minutes before your scheduled start time so that you can get yourself organized and oriented and take a look at the board and see what patients are for today. So that's what I expect for on timeliness. So please do that. Or you might say to a student, I expect that when you're talking to the clients, you speak in an audible tone, you're not super quiet, and that you look them in the eye and make good eye contact. That's a piece of professional behavior that I expect out of you. So be clear and unambiguous. we are, as occupational therapy practitioners, we're all clinicians and we all want to help people and we want to help our students. So we tend to be very nice. Sometimes we need to back up a minute and see if that being nice is actually not being clear. So you can be nice and clear at the same time. You can say, this is what I expect. So let me know if you have any trouble and you don't know how to do this, but I need you to know that this is what I need you to do in order to be successful here. So clear, but nice. So resist the urge to backpedal if the student gets upset. A lot of times we'll tell the student, look, you're in danger of failing and this and this and this need to happen, and the student will cry or get upset. First of all, if a student doesn't get upset when they're threatened with failure, that's a problem, right? That means they're not taking it seriously. So I expect that students will tear up or be very upset when I tell them they're having trouble and they may not pass. As a fieldwork coordinator, I expect that to happen. I don't like it. I don't enjoy making people cry. But on the other hand, I am very worried if a student isn't uh, invested enough to be upset by that. So don't let that cause you to backpedal. If a student gets upset, say, I understand you're upset. I am too. I'm not happy with the situation. What can we do to fix it? Let's see what we can do to get you to be successful. These are the things I need you to do. So if you backpedal when they're upset, you're going to not end up with what you want at the end, and the student's not going to get the clear information they need in order to succeed. So as soon as you know that there's a problem, you want to contact the academic fieldwork coordinator at the school that the student is from. They need to know whether they're checking in with you regularly or not. And maybe they have a midway check-in, at midterm, and that hasn't happened yet. Don't wait. Don't wait until they call you. Call them or email them and let them know that there's a problem that you need to talk about. You may not need them to get involved, but you need to notify them. The academic fieldwork coordinator's job is to make sure the students are progressing through their fieldwork appropriately. So if a student isn't, or you think they might not, you need to contact immediately. So you can work with the academic fieldwork coordinator to develop a learning contract, and you're going to base that on behavioral goals. Go back to your OT training and think about clear behavioral, unambiguous goals, goals that have measurable, timely outcomes. That's what you want to do. There, in this course, there are templates for learning contracts that you can use, or you can use one for your facility, or the academic fieldwork coordinator might have one, but you need to work together to develop that. You want to make sure that you include timelines, and I usually recommend week by week timelines. Fieldwork goes by quickly, and if you're noticing something wrong at week 2 or 3, whether it's an OTR student or an OTA student, there's not that much time to get things under control to get the student to still demonstrate competence at the end. So you want to make sure these are short-term goals and timelines. Like by the end of this week, I need you to have handled these things. By the end of the following week, you have to handle these things. And then check in with them and go over those goals and see if they've met them or not. So you have to have clear consequences. If these behaviors have not resolved by these dates, you will be dismissed. Or if these behaviors haven't been resolved, this will happen. So come up with some very clear consequences. And if the infractions are bad enough that the student could be dismissed because of them, then you want to let the student know that they need to know that they are in danger of failing their fieldwork. You have to be clear about that. It's a good idea to use the fieldwork evaluation form to guide what you're expecting. The expectations are that they pass the fieldwork performance evaluation. So take a look at each of the sections on the evaluation and think to yourself, is the student meeting this one? Yes or no? Are they meeting this one? Yes or no? And then pick from those things how you're going to write your goals. That's the most effective and efficient way to do it. You can also look at ethical and safety issues of your facilities policies and use that for some of your goals as well. But ultimately, they need to pass the fieldwork evaluation at the end, and that's really the best way to come up with your goals. So follow through, follow through, follow through. Super important. A lot of times, fieldwork educators will come up with a plan and come up with a learning contract, and everything will look like it's moving along. And then they just kind of let it go. And the student seems to be doing a little better, so they let it go. I've seen a lot of up and down and up and down. The fieldwork educator lets it go, and then the student's performance starts to go down. And then they go, hey, I thought we had this expectations, that you're supposed to do. And then the behavior gets better. And then the fieldwork educator ignores it again, and then the behaviors come down. So you have to stay on it. You have to follow through and stay on it and review the expectations, usually every day. You have to have 10, 15 minutes at the end of the day and say, what worked, what didn't work, how are you progressing towards your goals this week, how are you not? So you got to be really clear and on it. Second chances and room to grow are part of the learning process. So one of the things I like to caution about is not to sort of expect the worst. So you have a student that had issues, don't hold them there. Let them grow. Give them a fresh look every day and say, okay, today, let's hope they got it. I've seen a lot of people in different situations, in classrooms, fieldwork, all sorts of situations where they hold the student at that worst behavior that they saw, and then they don't expect any growth. And then the student has nowhere to go. So you have to be open to them growing and learning and having a second chance and really doing better. So when you encounter the student, you can't sort of roll your eyes and say, okay, so you did that again. You have to say, okay, we're starting new each day, and let's see what you can do today. Again, give them a chance to improve, but hold the line on what you need them to do. And that's the end of this video. I hope it's been helpful in dealing with difficult students and coming up with a plan for that. Thanks for watching.